late. It seems like every time I'm running a stream here lately, I'm running into some new technical issue. I was trying to get the chat working properly. Just having all kinds of problems. So, anyways, I finally got everything sorted, so I am online, ready to go. So, if you hadn't heard before, this is a bonus episode. I am going to be playing Elite Dangerous, but today I'm going to be playing Elite Dangerous on a separate account that I have. And that separate account is a brand new, starting from scratch. I'm in a basic Sidewinder. I have like 1,000 credits. And this is basically kind of like a how-to get started guide. I'm going to be going over like a lot of the basics that you should be understanding when you play and all of this other stuff. So hopefully this will all go fairly smoothly. I will be playing in open, so there is the potential for other players to potentially cause some issues. We'll see if that happens or not, but the reason I wanted to do that was because, to be honest, open play is much more fun. I would highly encourage you, if you do get on this, to do open play, because in open you do have that other player interactions, and they can create some unique scenarios and stuff like that. It can, for those of you who just don't want the stress and so forth of, potentially players like pirating you and stuff like that, you can go into solo or even join a private group. But I really feel like, playing with other players there is a lot more fun. Keep in mind, with as large as the game world is, even going into online, at most you typically are only going to see maybe 5 to 10 other players online in the same system as you are. So don't feel like, jumping into open, like you're immediately going to be a target. Like, the likelihood of you being singled out is pretty slim, especially starting out early on, because the Sidewinder and most of the starter ships are not a high priority target for pirates and stuff like that. So anyways, I just wanted to get that out there. And as always, I just want to quickly give everybody a rundown on my schedule next week. So I'll be doing 3 streams next week, Monday and Wednesday. Both of those will be at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Monday I'm going to be playing The Marvelous Mistake. And Wednesday I'll be continuing my Distant World stream. That one will be purely exploration focused. This last one I did this week was a little more kind of a tutorial on how to do exploration. So this one will just be me going from system to system, scanning things, just so that you can kind of see, some give and take and stuff like that. But if you do have any questions, feel free to hit me up in chat and so forth, and of course I'll try to answer those during the stream and stuff like that. If you're interested in learning more about exploration, then I'd encourage you to watch the video that I just did this past Wednesday. It's available on Twitch, and I will be uploading it to YouTube here, to our YouTube channel shortly. And once it's uploaded to YouTube, it will of course be added to the various forum threads on the Space Potatoes forums. So definitely check that out as well. And then Friday, and I'm going to be moving next week's Friday stream to the same time as the Saturday stream. So it's going to be moved to 2 p.m. I was going to try to do these more in the morning on Fridays, but it really feels like my schedule is just not going to work out properly that way. So I'm moving those to 2 p.m. on Saturday, on Friday, moving forward. And Friday I will be playing Tomb Raider, the new remake of the Tomb Raider series. Well, newish. It's it's been out for I think a year and a half, something like that. I'm not playing Rise of the Tomb Raider. I don't have that game yet. I do intend to play that at some point, but I still need to play the one before it. So that's what I'll be playing next Friday. Next week I probably will not be doing a bonus episode on Saturday. That may turn into something I do maybe every other week. Might do it more often than it just depends. Today I'm doing the bonus episode obviously on Elite Dangerous and getting started, but I may do like additional days where I just play another game in my Steam library, or if I feel like showcasing some other game that I've been playing outside of the ones on my list to play through, then I might do that as well. So and I'll definitely let you all know, and you can always check the schedule on the forums, and the forums will have all those details there, as well as additional thoughts and opinions and stuff like that on on the game as I play it and so forth. Because each of these, I'm basically just playing each of these games enough to get like a feel for them, and then decide whether I really want to spend additional time on my own playing through them. But I figured, hey, I might as well give you my thoughts and opinions, because first impressions are most important. So, if a game doesn't give you a good impression in the first hour or two of playing, it's probably not worth your time. Kind of like Rise of the Triads yesterday. It was a little rough, a little too old school. So, anyways, but Elite Dangerous, if you haven't played it, or if you've even thought about picking it up, I would highly, highly recommend it. It is an amazing game. It has just so much. There is so much to do, but, and this comes with a caveat, the game does not hold your hand at all. It literally throws you into an open world, and you're just there to do whatever you want to do. There's a little bit of missions. There's I'll show kind of the different options you have here in the stream today. There's a kind of player based like party combat system. It's called Power Play. I'll kind of go into that a little bit as well, but for the most part, there's no real overarching story that you directly participate in. There's an overarching story for the galaxy and kind of for like civilization, and you can have kind of minor efforts towards like the background simulation in that way. For instance, players have been responsible for helping decide where like some of the expansion of civilization out beyond the little bubble of civilization, and I'll show that more here in just a second, so that makes a little more sense. But yeah, so that's very there are a lot of things that the developers are working with the community on, but for the most part, they have just created this open world galaxy, and you are basically responsible for making your own fun. So hopefully today I'll be able to go over quite a few of the different types of gameplay. I probably won't cover pirating other than just kind of showing you like how you would do some of it. I've never been a big fan of being a pirate, just because I'm just not that kind of person. It's not the play style that I prefer. But I will be showing you some combat as a bounty hunter and so forth. And in a lot of cases, the bounty hunter is very, very similar to pirate, just in the sense that you're targeting wanted characters instead of targeting just anyone. So that should be a lot of fun. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. And so, as I said, I'm going to be joining a open play so that there are other players in there. And I'll also show you, because I'm going to go over the UI, and I'll show you the different elements there that should help to make this a little more clear as to what it should help to clear up like how the UI works and everything. All right, so you can see here that is the starter ship. That's the starter sidewinder you jump into. I'm literally jumping into this account for the very first time. I've never played on this account. I picked up a second copy of the game when it was on Steam, cheap. I think it was like $15. I wanted to do that so that I could have a second account that I could be a little more focused on staying in the civilization bubble, especially since my main account, I'm off doing the Distant Worlds expedition right now, and that means that I'm not going to be back in the bubble of civilization for several months. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I thought it would be a good idea to have a second account so that I could continue playing with like friends that. Some of my local friends that enjoy playing the game and so forth, without being, kind of cut off from all that. So really quickly, so the very first thing we want to do is go over the UI. Now there's a lot of information here. I'll try to keep it as simple and easy to understand as possible, but just keep in mind this is a very simulator-heavy focused game. So there's a lot of things that it does in order to really kind of immerse you in the game and help you understand what's going on. But that also means that there's just a lot to take in at first. And so I'm going to try to break this down as best I can and kind of give you an idea and understanding of how it works. And we'll just kind of go from there. So very first thing is the UI here directly in front of me. Now I'm going to go ahead and do head look so I can kind of focus on the different elements that you can see here. So you can see there's a bunch of information down here at the bottom. There's a little bit of information up at the top. There's also some side windows that I will show you to the left and right. And as you can see, the game does a really interesting job of like making you feel like you're definitely in the ship. I mean, I'm in this little chair here. There's all my controls are there and everything. I've got this nice, pretty wide open view, which is one of the nice things about the starting Sidewinder is it's got a pretty decent view of the outside, which is always fun when you go flying by like planets and stuff like that. So anyways, so the main UI that's directly in front of you. All right, starting on the bottom left. So in the bottom left is your target information. This is the current thing that you are targeting. And in this case, because I'm currently docked, it's showing me the dock itself. So right now I'm in Trevithick dock within the LHS 3447 system. It also tells me that the government type here is democracy, and this is an agricultural focused system. So that means that this system mainly deals with like developing and producing food that is then traded to nearby systems that aren't able to produce their own food. Ones that are like high-tech industry and various other things. All of that is really determined by like the composition of the systems themselves. So there's a lot of systems that are like extraction-based economies where they have a ton of like ring systems and stuff like that in there, and they're able to extract minerals and so forth, but they don't have any planets that are good for growing anything. And so those, they'll trade supplies to the agricultural planet for food and various other things. There's this whole background economy system that's pretty in-depth and thorough. It's fairly straightforward to understand how it works, but I'll definitely cover that here in a little bit, hopefully when I can start working on some trade stuff. But anyway, so that's the bottom left there. It shows you just some basic information. I'll show you some additional details on that when we target different types of things, so like ships and stations when you're not docked at them and stuff like that, because it all shows a little different information. And directly in the center is your, when you're docked, it shows you the docking computers. So right now you can see that I can access starport services, I can return to the surface, which would pull my ship back up to the surface of this orbital station. Or I can just go straight to launch, where it'll put me back up to the surface and then immediately disconnect me from the mag locks so that I can start flying off. And there'll be additional information here that I'll show you as well. Again, this is kind of a contextual menu that shows you different information based on what you're doing, where you are, and all of that stuff. So over to the right is your systems detail. So there's a lot of different things here that you want to keep an eye on. So this one, try to pay attention here. So first off, starting in the left of this, you've got your ship. It shows the ship itself as well as 3 blue rings around it. Now those 3 blue rings represent your shields. So as your shields take damage, the outer ring will start to turn red, and then the middle ring, and then the center ring. And when all 3 are red, that means your shields go down. You'll get a warning when that occurs, and then if you're still in combat, of course, when NPCs or other players start shooting you, you'll start taking hull damage, and that's where that bar just underneath that comes in. That little 100% bar there, that's your hull health. And when your hull health reaches 0, that means it's been compromised, and you will then your ship will then blow up. I mean, it's kind of, unfortunately, since it's a game, they kind of have to do that. There are some situations that can cause you additional issues, and I'll go into those when I start talking about the combat more. But for the most part, those are the 2 things that you need to be most concerned about as far as the health of your ship goes. Now, just to the right of that, you're going to see these 3 bars there, kind of stacked bars. And then it says Sys-Engine, it says Systems, Engine, and Weapons, or Sys-Eng-Wep. And then it has a little reset button, or a little reset toggle at the bottom. So what that is that's your power distribution on your ship. And you'll notice that each one has 2 little pips, is what they call them, those 2 little squares at the bottom. those pips allow you to route power to different systems in order to make them more efficient. Your systems power helps to alleviate heat, and then also helps to keep your shields recharged as quickly as possible. Your engine pips help, of course, with engines, and allows you to boost more often, and it also allows your ship to travel a little bit faster. And then in normal flight mode. And there's a couple of different flight modes, and I'll get into that here in a second as well. And then just to the right of that, you have weapons. And so weapons, of course, are your weapons. If you have more pips to that, the weapons will do a little bit more damage, and they also cool down faster. And so you're able to continue firing more often, able to do a little bit more damage with them that way, and so forth. So in a combat situation, you're typically going to want to be constantly changing those pips around in order to make sure that you're most protected, able to maneuver as well as possible, but then also deal as much damage as possible. And I'll kind of cover some of those details as I get more into combat here in a little while. All right. Then just to the right of that, you have some system details. So you have your fuel. The fuel shows how much it's currently using. Now, since I'm docked, I'm not using any fuel because the engines are not on. You'll see three things below that, though. You'll see mast locked, landing gear, and cargo scoop. Now, you'll notice two of them are blue, and the other one just kind of has a red or orange, just blank square. So the two blue ones mean those are currently active, and of course, since I'm docked, my landing gear is deployed. And mass lock means that I'm not able to go into faster than light travel directly right now, because there's other mass around me that's preventing the faster than light travel from working. And faster than light travel in this game has a couple of different scenarios, and I'll go over those here in a little bit, but first I want to finish going over the UI. So that kind of covers the three things at the bottom of your display. If I come up here, and I'm actually going to target this directly, this is your communications panel. Your communications panel will have your list of friends, so if you have any friends on your account, they would be listed here. Any messages that come in, there's some additional options there, I can't remember. You can also go through, there's some text setting channels, and this is where you can turn like voice chat on or off. You can enable or disable wing chat, local chat, and so forth. Voice chat in the game's not bad, but the one problem with it is because they've gone very heavy simulator focused on it. The voice chat only works when you're within the same system, and the further distance you are apart, the more kind of static appears in it, which is it's a cool, interesting like immersion factor. However, most people prefer using an external voice chat system like TeamSpeak or Mumble or Discord or whatever else, Skype, whatever else you want to use. So if you're wanting to play with friends and you want to do voice chat, I'd recommend using an external program rather than the one that's built in. The built-in one, again, it's not bad, but it has some limitations that are intentional that actually kind of make it worse. And that's purely from a design standpoint from the developers, so take that for what you want. And then the last thing is you have your info panel up here at the top right. The info panel will only show information and you'll see information appear up there, if you're doing scans or if anything happens with your ship, or you do a jump or anything along those lines. That's where the info panel will kind of show that. And so you just want to kind of keep an eye on that. It's not a huge deal. Now, to the left, you also have your targeting system panel. Now, the targeting system panel gives you a lot of information here. And so when you first jump in, you'll have the ability to target all of the individual items within the current system. And so the current system here, you can see that's the star of the planet. That's what that little kind of cross star pattern symbol means. You've got planets as well. That's what these are here. Then you have a dock. You've got a full-fledged station. So this is a orbital station, and this is a full-on Coriolis station. And so that'll give you a little bit more in the way of features and capabilities of the stations, and that's something I'll cover here in a little bit more once I exit out of here and kind of fly around a bit. But because there's some major differences between basic docks and orbital docking stations, and then the big stations that you can go and do a lot more with. You can also see some conflict zones here. Conflict zones are locations where there's an active battle going on. You can go jump into those and choose a side when you get in, and then you can start making a little bit of money that way. It's not a bad way, especially getting started, if you just want to jump straight into combat. So I might end up going to one of those here in a little bit just to kind of show you that starting out. You can see there's several stations here. We've got a couple orbital stations, several Coriolis stations, and so forth. And then it looks like there's also a second star in the system. It's a little ways out, but it does have a lot of different ships, or a lot of different planets and so forth that you can go to. A lot of moons, so like you can see like this is a planet, and then these are all moons for that planet. That's what that kind of hierarchy tree means. Now, if you also wanted to see all of this in a slightly different setup, you can go to your system map here. And I'll just click that really quick, pull that information up. The system map is downloaded from their server every time you access it, so it's just something to keep in mind when you're going around and looking at things. So in the system map, you can see all of that same essential information, but in kind of a map layout format. So you can see here we've got a couple of orbital stations, we've got some Coriolis stations. This is a, I forgot what those kind of stations are, but it's a station with a ring around it. And then you can also see there's several planets here. It looks like there's even one of the planets here looks like an Earth-like world. And so there's a lot of cool information you can kind of see. You can also see there's several gas giants out in the further star. You can see that all of these are much further out from the starting point. You can see that here. Whereas if I highlight these are actually... Oh, I see. So it looks like we're actually placed at the further star than the one that you would actually jump into when you jump into this system, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure why they chose to do that, but so the distance here is from the arrival point in the system. It is not the distance from where you currently are. And you'll understand that a little bit more when I start doing jumps. But anyway, so this is another way to see the details in the system. You can click on these and you can get some additional information by going to the info tab here. It'll show you what facilities are available. So like if I target the dock that I'm currently at, you'll see it has docking, refuel, repair, outfitting, and it has a black market. But if I go and target one of the larger stations, then it has docking, it has commodities, so I can do trading there. It's got restock, it's got a shipyard, so I can buy additional ships if I had enough money. So as you can see, these would give you a lot more capabilities early on than these basic stations will. And some of them will have various other functions, some of them will have less. It's something you want to keep an eye on, because like if especially starting out early on, you do need to keep an eye on like your fuel gauge and stuff like that, because if you end up running out of fuel, you're stranded and your ship system's powered down, and then your oxygen will deplete after a certain amount of time. With the default configuration, it's 5 minutes. And so if you can't get to where you were going within that 5 minutes, then your ship will self-destruct. You'll eject and are sent back to the station that was the last station you visited. So it's just something to keep in mind. So if you're targeting a station in order to fuel and you have only a small amount of fuel, if it has this facility information, you want to verify that it has the refuel. So going back to the targeting panel here, you also have, if I switch over to the next tab, you have your transactions. This will be where all of your missions are. So when you accept a mission, and I'll show you kind of how that works here in just a second, then your missions that you've accepted and completed and so forth will be listed here, or not completed, excuse me, but accepted, and ones that maybe you have completed the first step of it and you need to head back to the station or whatever. It'll tell you all that information here. You also have contacts. So we can see in this, right around this orbital dock right now, there's the dock itself. There's a Viper MK4. That might be a security vessel. I don't know. I'd have to look at it a little more closely. And then there's a high-energy FSD wake. So somebody obviously had left here shortly ago. And then if you were targeting a ship, then you could also look at their sub-targets, which are the subsystems in there. So like you could target specifically like their power plant, specific weapons, their life supports, any of the different settings that are in their system or on their ship. And so that allows you to be a little more direct in combat in order to try to bring the ship's capabilities down. It's like if you blow out their thrusters, then they're not able to move or control their ship, and it may just start spinning really quickly and so forth, and it's disorienting, especially if it's another player. So that's something you'll want to keep in mind. And then it's kind of hard to see, but the last tab there is inventory. So if you're targeting another ship, then you can do an inventory scan of them, and then that will show you, or a cargo scan basically, and that will show you what cargo they currently have in their ship. Going over to the panel on the right, this is all of your ship's systems and your personal, like your history basically. So you can see here on status, up at the top left, it shows my commander name, so Gideon Starwind. You've got your current rank, and as you can see, I've made no progress on any of the ranks in the game because, again, this is a brand new account. You can see my current balance. I only have 1,000 credits. I don't have a rebuy cost right now, but that's because you're in the base ship, and the base ship is free. I don't have any local bounty, and all my local rep is neutral because I haven't done any missions or anything. You can also see in status, there's several pages here of information. Just really quickly, this is your reputation screen. This is where you see with the major factions and then the minor system factions where you stand. You get your system status, so it'll show the current system and all of the different factions there, and what kind of status they're in, whether they're booming, whether there's a civil war, and then your level of influence with them. Next, you have your finance. This shows you all of your current balance, your assets and stuff like that. It shows your ship insurance cost. So the ship insurance cost on this account is 95%. If you had purchased a beta copy, or I think if you get the lifetime edition of the game, that bumps it up to 96% instead, which means that you only pay for 4% of the rebuy cost of any ship you have. So just keep in mind, like when you're playing this game, if you buy a brand new ship, you need to make sure you have enough money to cover the rebuy cost at least once or twice. I would say twice to be on the safe side, because you never know what can happen. You could go flying out of the station and go start heading towards your target, and somebody interdicts you, and you just have a bad day and they blow you up. And if you don't have that rebuy cost, then you're out all of that money because you'll not be able to buy your ship back. And so forth. There is a loan system where you can take out, I think it's up to, I want to say it's up to 7 million, I think. I could be mistaken on that, or 700,000 or something. There's a limit to how much you can use the loan for, but don't rely on that. Like, you should be playing with a balance, and you'll see that here in a little bit when I start doing some missions in combat and start making some money. So with the so if I move over to the next tab, you've got all the modules for your current system or your current ship. So you can see there's quite a few modules in the ship. There's my cockpit, my power plant. I've got a couple of pulse lasers on here. I've got my thrusters, my shield generator. It shows how much power is currently being used by all of those. And then the other interesting is you can set the priority of your modules. So like if you want to make sure your weapons get power, then you can set your weapons up. and at a higher priority, or if you want them a lower priority, you can do that as well. It's just one of those things that with certain ships it's going to be necessary because some of them, their power plants are a little limited. So in order to really do the best you can with them, you'll need to disable certain modules when you're wanting to do combat because certain modules aren't needed in combat. And then when you get out of combat and start flying around again, then you need your weapons to be retracted and not be using up any power and stuff like that. So just something to keep in mind. You also have your fire groups, so you can go through here and set up different fire groups. You can have multiple fire groups you want. So like you can see here, I can just add a whole bunch of fire groups. If I remove everything, then it'll go through and clear those out. Finally, you have your inventory. And so now this is something I want to cover really quickly. So in your cargo, I am currently playing with a non-Horizons version of Elite Dangerous on this account. I haven't picked up Horizons because I didn't feel like it was necessary to buy Horizons for this account since it's just going to be an extra account for me. I might pick up Horizons when it's really cheap later on in the year. But that's not a high priority for me on this one. So you'll notice on the left here, there's several lists here. Materials and synthesis are really only going to matter to you if you have Horizons, because you can only collect the materials here on planets. And since I can't land on planets, then I'll never have the materials, which means I can't do any of the synthesis stuff. So that's just something to keep in mind. So if you don't have Horizons, the only one you'll need to worry about here is ship cargo. Alright, and then finally you have functions on your ship. So in here we've got, you can see, I can choose a faction if I was in a combat zone. We've got landing gear. Currently it's deployed. Cargo scoop is retracted. I can turn on or off my beacons. I can set up silent running. I can turn the external lights on or off. So like if you notice, like now I've got my lights on, and then if I turn those back off again, you'll see it's not quite as bright there, and so forth. So you have a lot of abilities to turn a lot of your modules here on or off. Now, some of this stuff you'll probably want to set up on a button on your controller or on your keyboard and mouse setup, because things like your landing gear and stuff like that, you're going to need to use fairly often, and so there's really no point in doing any of that stuff, or turning a lot of this stuff on or off with this functions menu, because it would just get a little tedious because you'd constantly have to, okay, now I need to land, so I need to go and do this and blah 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 and everything. So it's a lot easier if you just have it on a button. Alternatively, and this is something I would highly recommend everybody do, but there's also this program which I will be using that is called Voice Attack. And Voice Attack allows you to run commands using voice commands, and I'll show it a little bit more here in a little bit. But it's a really useful program. It's only like $8 or something like that, $10. It's really cheap. There's no reason not to get it. And then there's also some available voice packs, like voice command packs for Elite Dangerous that people have already created. You can look that up on Google and it'll show up there, and you'll have more information. I think most of those you have to purchase, so that would be an additional purchase on top of Voice Attack. I will say I did not do that. I actually manually configured mine, and so it does everything I need it to, and then and a lot of my commands, it responds back to me using a text-to-speech engine that's built into Windows. So there'll be some feedback from the Voice Attack software that tells me it's working, and it also makes it kind of feel like the ship is interacting with you, which is kind of fun. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information. Hopefully, as I said, this video will be going up on YouTube. We'll be posting it on the forums. It'll be on Twitch for the next couple weeks because I am having it archived. So if you got lost on any of that stuff, then please let me know, or please feel free to review the video. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in chat either while I'm doing the stream or check out the forums. If you have any questions, you're welcome to hit me up there, and I'll try to answer those as best I can. It's a fairly straightforward game once you kind of get around some of the complexities. Because once you actually start like flying and doing all this stuff, a lot of this stuff becomes second nature, and so it all actually ends up being very intuitive, even though it feels like there's a lot to take in. So don't feel like this is just ruining your ability to play the game, because this stuff, once you get started really heavily on it, it really glosses over really quickly. So I've introduced this game to several people at this point, and every single one of them have, basically said, oh yeah, no, I like, there's a bit of a learning curve at first, but every single one of them have thought it's totally worth it in the end. So just something to keep in mind. Oh, sorry, I've been talking so much, my throat's drying out. Okay, so really quickly, I just want to go over the services here at the starport so you can kind of see that menu. So when you dock at a station, you'll be able to pull up the starport services menu, and here you can repair your ship, you can refuel it, you can reload all of your ammo if you have an ammo-based weapon. You can see here it shows the status of your ship just above that, so I've got 100% hull, 100% fuel tank, 100% reservoir, and all that stuff. So that's all great. You can also go to the bulletin board. This is where you will pick up missions. So if you grabbed a mission here, then you could then find it on your transactions tab here. Now, looking at this, there's only one available mission. It's a locate and kill mission. I really don't want to do that right at the very beginning. The weapons on the starter Sidewinder aren't terrible, but they're still not great. And so just going straight into a combat mission is probably not the best idea, because it might give you a ship, put you up against a ship that like you could do, but it would be a really tough fight, especially for a beginner. So if you're going to be doing missions early on, I recommend you do something like either a trading mission or a transport mission or something on those lines, where you pick up a little bit of cargo from the station and then move it to another location and drop it off. You can typically make some pretty good money. As you can see, several of these things would instantly, give me, 250, 300,000 credits. Now, some of this I wouldn't be able to take regardless, because not only is it requiring too much quantity, you can see there's 3 things highlighted in red here. So first is the quantity. That's how much cargo. A Sidewinder doesn't have anywhere near that kind of cargo capacity, so I couldn't take that mission just because of that. Secondly, I can't take it because of my trade rank is not high enough. And then finally, I'm not allied with this particular station, or this particular group within this station. And so I wouldn't be able to take it regardless. But that's okay. It's not that big a deal right now. Again, there's plenty of places to find missions, so don't feel like that is something you really have to do early on. Now, you also have contacts. Now, contacts here are places where you would pay off any bounties that you may have accrued if you're doing any kind of like smuggling, or if you accidentally shoot a police officer at some point in a combat zone or something, or a resource extraction site or something along those lines. You'll get a bounty for that, and then you can pay those off here. You also have like trade dividends. So if like you're in a wing with other players and one of them is doing trading and you're just there to kind of guard him along the way, when he goes through and trades in all of his stuff, you get a little bit of trade dividends for that in order to collect as well. So you'll be able to collect those. You have your combat bond. That's for combat zones. So combat bonds and bounties are a little bit different. So bounties are for taking down a pirate, whereas combat bonds are from the actual military factions for killing some of their enemies. So that's why there's 2 different sections for that. And then finally, there's a black market. So if you want to sell, if you pick up some illegal goods, then you'll be able to take it to a nearby station and take it to the black market and sell it there. However, one thing to keep in mind is if you do have illegal goods in your cargo and you get scanned by a security vessel, then you're going to get a fine. So you want to be careful about that as well. Finally, there is some outfitting here, which is the ability to go through and change some of the features on your ship. You can see here I've got my hard points, I've got a couple of utility mounts, I've got all my internal compartments that I'm able to change things in and out of, and then I can also apply like paint jobs and decals and stuff like that if I purchase those. Most of those are purchased from the Elite Dangerous store from Frontier Developments, so that's something to keep in mind. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I should have brought some water. Anyways, so that's the outfitting screen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and have this launch me out so that you can see, the changes that it makes to the UI, and then also so I can show you the docking procedure, because I want to show you that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to launch me, and okay. Yeah, the first time you you jump into the game, does a pre-flight check, and so it wants you to verify all of your controls. So, like you'll see, I need to pitch up, pitch down, right, left, yaw right, yaw left, thrust right, thrust left, thrust up, thrust down. Landing gear, weapon deploy, target ahead. There we go. Alright. So, it just wants you to verify all the controls to make sure that you know how it all works when you do this. Alright. So, since I chose it to launch, it's going to automatically unleash the maglocks on me and launch me out into space. So when you first do that, your best way to go about this when you're launching is to just thrust upwards. Get out of the way of the station and then kind of throttle your way or throttle around to get away from the station. So I'm gonna rotate around and then target the station and request docking so that you can kind of see that process. Alright, so this is the station. You can see I'm kind of targeting it right now. That was the landing pad that I just ejected out of. There's some additional landing pads on this station. There's going to be one just underneath it in the opposite direction. So if I rotate it around and then thrust it up here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on my lights so it's a little easier to see. Lights on. So my lights are on, so if I get a little closer here, start to be able to see my lights lighting up things. So you can see there's another landing pad right there. So that's a landing pad. And then there, and I thought I saw one. Let me see here. There should be a medium-sized pad around here somewhere. That's it. Yeah. Alright, so this is a medium-sized pad. So this is for slightly larger vehicles than mine. So the Sidewinder, you will never or rarely dock at a medium pad. Occasionally you'll do it if the other ones are filled, but for the most part you're never going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and thrust away from the station a bit. I'm going to turn off my landing gear. Boost away here. So one thing I'm going to show you really quick is I'm going to go ahead and focus more power to my engines in that little PIPS module there. So like if I come over here, that little PIPS module, so I'm going to go engines, and you'll see that now I'm going a little bit faster. If I well, actually, I guess I should point out where my speed is. So you'll notice in the center on the UI, the thing has changed from no longer having the little station selection to having a radar and sensor. So if I come over here and I target the station there, you'll see on the radar and the sensor range, you'll see the station is essentially directly in front of me on that little disc. Well, the way you should think about that disc is think of it as a sphere. And so, like, if I point directly perpendicular to the orbital station, then that station is directly on top of me now. But it's still a far distance away. And so, if you think of that disc there is actually a sphere. It's showing you where all of the docking points or where all of your targets are, and you'll see here I've got 2 little white dots, and those are going to be high FSD wake. So that one just disappeared. Let's see if I can get to this one before it does. And that disappeared as well. Anyways, so you can kind of see that those are there. Now, one thing you may need to do is, so obviously when you're coming into a station, the very first thing you want to do is you want to dock. And so in order to dock, you need to request docking. So you're going to come over here to your targets page. You're going to go to contacts, and then select the dock, and then request docking. All right.
Docking request granted.
Now, oh, okay. It actually was hoping it would deny me because I thought I was a little bit further out. A lot of cases you may come in, and if you request immediately, it may tell you denied. And the reason it'll tell you denied is you're not allowed to request docking if you're more than 7.5 kilometers away from the station. So keep that in mind. So if you're going around and it denies you docking, that's why. It's because you are too far away, or potentially all of the docking locations are currently being used by either other players or NPCs. If there's NPCs, the game will try to get them to undock as quickly as possible in order to free up the docking port so that you can get to it. But if it's another player, then obviously they can't force a player off of it. So if you're playing an open play, that's just something to keep in mind. It may be that there's too many players at the station, so you might either need to go to another station or wait until the docking port becomes available again. Hey Ronan, I just saw your message. Glad, thank you for joining. If you got any questions, let me know. Anyway, so I've chosen my dock, or I've requested docking. You'll notice that it now says, just above the radar there, it says proceed to landing pad 1. And then it has a countdown. So you only have 10 minutes from requesting docking to where you have to dock before it will cancel your docking request, and then you'll be required to do it all over again. So right now I'm looking at the station and I'm like, okay, well, where is landing pad 1? I don't know. So like if I fly closer to it, I don't have any ideas where landing pad 1 is right now. I don't see any indications of where it is or anything. This is something that a lot of players may get a little confused by. And so as I get closer to the station here, I'm going to point something out to you that should help you identify where your landing pad location is in the event that you can't figure it out like just looking at it. So to the top left of the radar, you'll see there's a little targeting reticule, and you'll notice there's a little blue dot there that's just to the top left of the crosshairs. That blue dot is actually where your landing pad is. And so you'll notice, like, if I rotate away from the station, it's getting further away, and then if I rotate towards it, you'll see, okay, so my landing pad is directly in that direction. However, it's likely on the other side of the station, because right now, obviously, there's no... I'm not seeing any indications of a landing pad directly there. Now, there's one there, just to the right of me, but that is not a landing pad for me. That's a landing pad that someone else is currently using, and you can kind of see it moving around there and so forth. So that is not my landing pad. Now, the indicator that will tell you is your landing pad is actually, and I'm going to kind of rotate around the station here. You'll see right there, you'll see there's a number. 01, so that's my landing pad, and you also see the orange light. That indicates the landing pad that you want to be in. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you always need to approach your landing pad with the numbers at the back. If you approach with the numbers at front, you're coming in from the wrong direction. So I'm going to come in closer to the landing pad here. And you'll see that, okay, so I'm lining up with the landing pad. You'll see now that you can also tell the flight tower for the landing pad is directly in front of you. That's another indication that you're facing the right direction. So you always want to make sure when you're landing that the flight tower is directly in front of you. That's what those windows are over there on the just beyond the landing pad. So as I get closer here, it's going to give me a warning here in just a second.
Warning, landing gear not deployed.
Okay, it's telling me my landing gear is not deployed, and you can also see that in the bottom right of the screen. You can see it says landing gear, and it shows that orange square rather than the blue one. So I'm going to quickly deploy my landing gear. And then, for those of you who may have noticed, you may have noticed that the sensor radar has now changed to a little picture of my ship with the landing pad in it. And it's kind of difficult to tell right now. I'm going to move forward just a little bit. Okay, so now you can see there's this little red line coming down from my ship and a little dot next to it. That dot is where I'm located on the pad, and so you want to get that dot directly to the center, just next to that little reticule. You'll notice it goes blue. That means you are in the correct area to land your ship. So you want to get your ship directly above that. Flatten it out as best you can. I mean, you don't have to be necessarily perfect with it. And then you're going to thrust downward very slowly in order to bring your ship in to dock. Right? And if you do it right, that's exactly what will happen. You'll dock. You immediately dock with the station. The maglev locks will take control of the ship, and then you're fine. You are now there, and you're docked, and you're ready to go. All right. So that's probably the easiest way to do landings is make sure you're coming in from the right direction. Come in, get your ship immediately over the very center of the pad, and then just thrust downward very gently, and you will be able to land. That's the easiest way to do it. There's some quicker ways, and as you get the hang of it in game. A lot of people you'll notice will probably just kind of sweep in like really close to the landing pad and just get their ship right to the right location, and then it'll just dock. There's some ways you can kind of game the system in order to make your docking procedure a lot faster. But just keep in mind that's the easiest way to do docking in this game is that way right there. Just put your ship over the very center of it, lower it down. Okay. So now I'm going to launch and kind of go over a few of the flight mechanics for you. So I thrust up. Once it releases the mag locks, get away from the station and kind of thrust up. Don't forget to retract your landing gear because it drastically reduces your speed. And for those of you who may have noticed, the speed is the little bar indicator just to the right of the radar. So as you can see, I can throttle down and my speed decreases, and I throttle up and of course my speed increases. That speed is going to be modified by the pips. So like right now I have full pips engines, but if I reset all of them, you'll notice my ship immediately slows down, and I lost about 50 kilometers per second. Or excuse me, meters per second. 50 meters per second. So the engines actually do have quite a big difference in your handling of the ship. Now, another thing you want to realize with your ship is, you'll notice on the throttle there's a little section that's kind of highlighted in blue. If I reduce my throttle down to where my throttle is in that location, I now turn faster than I would if I wasn't in that section. So that is your optimum handling zone of your throttle. And so, like you can see, I'm going to start turning, and then I'm going to increase my speed, and you'll notice I immediately start slowing down. Like, I can't turn as fast anymore. But if I reduce my speed, I can suddenly start turning very quickly again. So that's just something to keep in mind, especially in combat when ships are trying to outmaneuver each other. The best location to be in those situations is in that blue zone, because you'll be able to outmaneuver, especially in smaller ships, your opponents. Now, of course, different ships will have different capabilities, so that's not always going to be 100% the case. But for the most part, that's what you want to do. Okay, so let me see here. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to find a low-intensity either combat zone or a resource extraction site, because I want to do some stuff right now to get me a little bit of money early on. So let's pull up the system map, and I just want to take a look here at a couple of things. Alright, so... there's probably some resource extraction sites over there, but that's a long distance away from where I am. So... I could do the combat zones, but I just kind of want to avoid those for right now. Let's see, resource extraction sites. Yeah. Okay. So, I don't see any resource extraction sites nearby here, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to pull up the galaxy map. And so this will be a good opportunity for me to kind of introduce you to the galaxy map. One thing to keep in mind is if your ship is moving, like I've got my throttle set up right now, and I'm actually moving in the game, you want to make sure you're not directly driving towards like the station or something like that, because if you launch your galaxy map, your ship is still flying, so you want to be careful about that. So you'll either want to throttle all the way down to 0, or make sure it's not targeted, or not targeted at a specific like ship or station, in order to avoid any kind of collisions while you're looking at the galaxy map. So now I'm going to pull up the galaxy map, and so this will be a good opportunity for me to kind of introduce you to the galaxy map. So the galaxy map, again, shows quite a bit of information right at first, but it's really not that complicated to understand if you kind of just follow along here really easily. So first thing you notice, you can kind of rotate around. I'm doing this by holding the left mouse button. You can also go up and down. I'm doing this by holding the right mouse button, and then by holding both mouse buttons, I'm able to pan. All right. And there's also controller-based configurations for this. I'm not a huge fan of using them. I find the mouse is a lot more intuitive, but it's something that you can do. So if I target the system that I'm currently at right now, you can see I can pull up some different information here. It shows me that it's a democracy, it's an agriculture and extraction-based economy. It tells me what kind of stars are there, so these are K-class stars. The allegiance, it's a federation system. So that kind of gives you some ideas on the information for this system here. So if I targeted one of the nearby systems, say like Erebate, then you can see that this one's a little different. So this one's an industrial and agricultural based system. It's still democratic government, but it has no allegiance to any of the major factions. So it's an independent system. And then I can also select here and look at the system map for this system. Now, I'm going to choose a different one. So let's maybe Ross 142 won't have it. Yeah. So this one doesn't have any system map data available. That's because your system, your computer in your ship, does not have information for every system in the galaxy. It only has systems that are major hubs, for major hubs for civilization at the start. So you can gather more information for those systems by actually going to them and doing a system scan, and that will give you more details. But initially, you will not have access to a lot of system information. So, when you're first starting out, it's probably a good idea to stick to systems that you already have information for. That usually helps to keep you moving in the game in the right direction initially. And then once you've kind of, built up a little credits, bought yourself something a little better than the starter ship, then you can start to move up to some of the other options. So on Erebate here, I'm going to really quickly pull up the system map. I just want to take a look at this system. It's been a little while since I've looked at all of the systems near the starter zone, so I'm wanting to see if I can find one that's got a decent resource extraction site. And so, to tell you what I'm looking for a gas giant that's nearby a station. Because gas giants are where resource extraction sites is. And you also want to make sure that the economy that you're looking at is an extraction-based economy. Because extraction-based economies will typically have gas giants in them. So you'll notice that Airvade is actually industrial and agricultural. But, so that should have told me kind of right away that there wasn't a resource extraction site, but I still wanted to look at the system really quick just to be sure. So why don't we look at, okay, so Shimundo, that's an industrial base, so that's probably the same thing. We're probably not going to find many gas giants there. That's a refinery-based economy. Okay, so here's another extraction one. Now this one does not have system data available, which is unfortunate. So I'll probably steer clear of that one as well. What if we come over here? What is this one? That's an extraction base, but again, we don't have any data. Man, I was really hoping to be able to find one here. Really close. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Ah, cremate. This one might actually have something, if I remember correctly. Even though it's not an extraction-based economy, I think this one did. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna head to Cremain. Yeah, and Wohler Terminal, because I know for a fact that this system has what I'm looking for. And that's just from previous experience with my other account. So, you know, as a starter option, you know, for doing some combat and so forth, Cremain's actually a really good choice. So, you know, it's something to, you know, you might consider jumping over to. So, I'm going to go ahead and target Cremain. And then I'm going to click this right here. So this will plot a route in my system. So you notice that it's going to first have me jump to Podridi and then to Cremain. That will then get me to that system. Now, just really quickly, I want to show you something a little different. So I'm going to select a different system that's a little further out. I'm going to click plot route. Now you'll notice that first off, this is taking a really roundabout route. All right. The reason for this is because my ship is only capable of jumping to stars within a certain distance. And unfortunately, in order to get there, and I do have fastest route selected, unfortunately, in order to get there, I have to be able to jump two stars that are only, I think it's 7.5 light years apart. And so unfortunately, in order to get to these systems over here, I actually can't go directly because the jumps from like here to here or here to here and so forth, those are too far. And so I don't have any capability of actually getting all the way over there. So, so that's one thing to keep in mind. And then another thing you'll notice is that you'll see this part right here is a solid line, whereas this is a dashed line. Dashed lines mean that that's where I'm going to run out of fuel. So I'd be able to get to here on the amount of fuel I have, but I would not be able to get to the next hop. Now, that wouldn't be that bad if I knew that there was a station here that I could refuel at, but since it has no system information, I can't be sure of that. So I don't know if that one will have a station or not. Same with this, and probably even the same with this one as well, because early on, you don't have a whole lot of system details. You really only have the main ones. So you want to kind of stick around with some of the easier to get to systems. So when you're first starting out and you appear in LHS 3447, because that is the starter system, Cremain is definitely a good choice to look at. So again, I'm going to plot the route to Cremain. Now I can exit out of the galaxy map. And again, if you'll notice to the top right of the radar, you'll now see I have a new blue dot there. And that blue dot is the path that I need to get to in order to jump to the system that I'm trying to get to. So you can see it's already got Podridi targeted. So I should be able to jump to that system and then from there jump to Cremain. Now, one thing really quickly I want to show you on that little blue dot there is if I rotate around until the target is behind me, you'll notice that it goes hollow. So rather than having a solid blue circle, there's a hollow blue circle there now. and that means that it's behind you. So that just means that, like, if you have it in your dead center, that the target is directly behind you. So you just need to do a 180-degree turn, and you'll start heading towards that location. Or you'll be turning towards that location, I should say. So once you have the target directly in the center of your reticle, you're going to want to throttle up all the way, and then you're going to want to initiate your jump drive. Or in this case, it's called a frame shift drive. Now, there's two systems, and so I want to show this to you really quick. There's actually two types of faster than light travel here. So I'm going to really quickly target just another thing, a planet in the system, in the local system that I'm in right now. And you'll notice my target is now changed. So if I rotate around over here, you'll see the target is now that planet. Okay. And oh, did not mean to do that. And then so now I'm going to go into the first step of faster than light travel in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my jump drive. And you'll see my frame shift drive is now charging.
4.
And I'm just going to do a 4-second countdown.
2, 1.
And now I'm jumping into what's known as Super Cruise. And Super Cruise allows me to travel within the system at faster than light travel. Alright, so now you'll see I'm going to whiz by this planet way faster than I was traveling before. I'm able to, like target the nearby stars. So that's the star that's the other star in the system that's really far away, and then this is the close by star. It's like I can start flying towards that star if I wanted to. And you'll see the sensor now shows various different planets and stars now. You'll also see other little square icons. Square icons are other ships. If it's a solid square icon, then that means it's an NPC ship. If it's a hollow square icon, then that means it's a player ship. So that'll help you to identify whether or not there's a player actively in your system. And so right now you can see there's no players in my active system. And so even though I'm in open play, like I said, you're never really going to have more than 5 or 10. Occasionally, oh, I just got one. One just popped in. So there's a player right there, and that's Commander No Hands. And he's mostly harmless and in a Viper room. I don't want to mess with him. So, anyways, so now that I've been flying around, just looking around, he is apparently flying kind of close to me. I don't know what's going on there. Just want to make sure he's not going to target me for an interdiction or anything. Anyways, so, alright, so anyways, I'm going to now target the other system. So this is Super Cruise, and so now I'm going to target the other system that I'm going to jump to, that Pot Reedy. And for this I'm going to use the voice attack software so you can kind of see how it works. Next system. And so you can see now it's targeted the next system. So I have Pot Reedy highlighted here. And so now I can use the frame shift drive again, but this time doing a warp jump from this system to the next. And so again, I'm going to use voice attack to trigger this, and so you can kind of see how that works. Jump.
Hold on to your butt, Commander.
And so you can see there, I have it set up. Actually, I have it set up with several random things that it can say instead. And so in that case, it said, hold on to your butt, Commander. And so it sounds like the ship is interacting with me. It's kind of fun, helps with the immersion. And so now we're going to go into a full warp jump. And you'll see now we're in what's known as witch space. And essentially what it is we're going through an alternate dimension that's allowing us to essentially bend space in order to make the distance between the two destinations that we wanted to go nearly zero. So your ship itself is not actually ever going faster than the speed of light because that would break physics, but your ship is going, your ship is being moved through by bending space around it through that alternate dimension to get you to the next system. So you'll see now that my next target, it is a hollow blue system or symbol. So I'm going to want to rotate, so it's behind me. So I'm going to want to rotate around. Now, one thing I did. Okay. So I'm going to do. I think some of my controls got screwed up. All right. Well, I'll fix that later. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. You can see right now there is a couple of other players in this system as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and jump to the next system. Jump.
Accelerating to warp speed.
So you can see now we're charging up the frameshift drive, getting ready to head to Cremain. And you'll notice in the bottom right there, you'll see my fuel gauge. There's a section that's blue. That section that's blue is how much fuel this frameshift drive is going to use. So you can see I've already used, with the 2 jumps that I've made, almost half of my fuel tank. And so that kind of goes back to what I was showing you on the Galaxy map, that little dashed line that occurred after so many systems. That would be because I was using so much fuel during these large jumps like this. Now, unfortunately, the Sidewinder doesn't have a whole lot of fuel capacity to start with, so it's a little more difficult to get started in, but it should work just fine. For you to do your first few missions, and either missions and/or combat in order to get some money in the game. So. Anyway, so one thing I wanted to tell you really quick on the warp jumps through witch space. If you're using a throttle setup or even the keyboard and mouse, the countdown starts. So 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it initiates the witch space. When that countdown starts, you want to go ahead and set your throttle to 0%, because otherwise you're going to come out at the star going the same full throttle that you were before, and that means you'll just start diving in towards the star. And if you start diving in towards the star, your ship will be forced out of super cruise. It'll take some damage, and then you're so close to the star that you're going to start taking heat damage. Because if you'll notice, to the left of the sensor radar, there's a temperature gauge there. And right now I'm at like 52% temperature, and that's a percentage of how much heat my heat sinks and thermal systems can adapt to. So it's something you want to keep in mind, especially when you're jumping from system to system, because the last thing you want to do is accidentally end up going into, jumping in and just diving headfirst into a star, because you can destroy your ship that way. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the system map, and like I said, I've been to this system before on my other account, so I already knew that this one would have what I'm looking for. But I'm going to go ahead and target Wohler Terminal here. And I'm going to show you what docking into a Coriolis station is like, because it's going to be a little different than docking at just one of those outposts like I was showing you before. So we've got that targeted. Again, you can look at the reticle there. It's hollow, which means it's behind me. So I'm going to throttle up and rotate around, get that right in front of me. And so now I am traveling in Super Cruise. You can tell this a little bit because my speed is no longer in meters per second. It's now in C, which is the speed of light. So we're like right now I just hit 1C. That's 1 times the speed of light. I'm going to be hitting 2C here. So now it's 2C, and so 2 times speed of light, 3C, so on and so forth. You also see some other different things. So you'll notice there's a lot more like space dust like flying by really quickly. It's causing all these pretty lines to appear, and then you'll also see this kind of like speed gauges out to the left and right of the screen that kind of give you a better indicator of like how fast you're going. You'll notice those will slightly change as you speed up or slow down, as it's basically essentially different indicators of like how quickly you're traveling and so forth. So right now I'm heading about 25 times the speed of light, heading towards Wohler Terminal, and you can see that the distance is measured in light seconds. So that's the distance that light travels in a second. So right now I'm 2,000 times the speed of light, or light seconds away from Wohler Terminal. And so you just want to kind of keep Wohler Terminal directly in the center of your HUD there in order to make sure that you're heading towards it. But you'll also notice that underneath the distance there's a time scale there, and that's the time it will take you to get there. However, there's a little trick to this, because if I just, and I'll go ahead and do it now just to show you, if I keep heading at this station as fast as I'm doing right now, then I'm just going to whiz by it really, really quick. So you'll notice like I hit 7 seconds, and unfortunately there's a lot of planets nearby, so the planets affect like how fast you can go. You can notice my speed is dropping pretty drastically. But if I keep going and leave my throttle at max, eventually this is going to drop below 7. It's because of this big gas giant here. That's what's causing this. Once we get past the point where the gas giant's gravity is affecting me as much, then we'll see this here in just a second. Okay, so now here we go. So 6, 5. All right, I'm going so fast. If I throttle down, I can't slow down fast enough, and so I'm just going to whiz right by the terminal that I'm targeting. And that's not what I want to do. I want to make sure that I get to my target. So let me rotate back around now, because we should be slow enough now. Okay, so now if I head at Wohler Terminal, like so, and I keep the throttle where the time is between 7 and 8 seconds, 7 or 8, then I will constantly stay at the right speed, because the mass of the station will slowly keep me slowing down in order to not overshoot the station. So that's what you want to do, is if you can keep your speed right around 7 or 8 seconds, it'll be just the perfect speed to get you coming into the station without any problems. Now, one thing I do want to point out here, and so I'm gonna come in from the station from this side. So you can see the planet that it's orbiting is a big gas giant there, just to the bottom right. So it's that one right there. So if I target this, okay, now I'm within a safe distance. That's 1,000 kilometers. I'm going to go ahead and disengage my frame shift drive. And so I'll pop in to the station. But you'll notice that, or you might not notice because you may not understand it, but right now I'm actually behind the station. You can tell that because there's a couple ways to tell this. So if I target the station, then you'll notice that on the back there, on that big square platform where it's rotating around, kind of like a clock, or the hands-on clock anyways, you'll notice that there's red lights on it, on the corners there. Those red lights indicate that you're on the back side of the station. A couple more ways that you can tell the orientation of the station is if you look to the bottom left where the station is targeted, you'll notice that the side panels that are rotating around have little arrows pointing to the opening. And you'll notice those arrows are all pointing, just so you make sure you're focusing on the right thing, on that right there. You'll notice all the arrows are pointing to the opposite side. So, obviously we're going to need to fly around to the opposite side of the station. Use my boost a little bit here. And alright, so as we get closer to the other side, I'll show you the indicators that will pinpoint that this is the front of the ship, or the station. So now you can see the front of the station, and you'll notice that now at the corners it has white lights flashing. So that's a good indication. And then you'll also notice that it has this little docking bay set up right there. All right, that's what that little graded area there where it's rotating around. That's the docking bay that you'll fly in through in order to get to your docking location. All the big stations have a docking bay like that, even if they're one of the ringed stations rather than a Coriolis station like this one is. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to show you the process that you want to go through when docking here. because it's a little different than the outposts,
Scan
but it's
detected.
essentially the same. So, move a little bit, because sometimes the NPCs are a little stupid in this game when they're running a scan on you. So I'm going to go ahead, come back here to my contacts, just like I did for the outpost. I'm going to target Wohler and request docking.
Docking request granted.
Alright, so you'll see proceed to landing pad 42. Alright, answer to life, the universe, and everything. Alright, yeah, best landing pad. Okay, so we're going to come in to the docking station. Now, this station is constantly rotating. You'll see if I get my hand off the throttle, or off the stick, the station starts rotating, so you're going to have to compensate for that as you're approaching. Alright, so I'm just barely giving my throttle, or my joystick, a little push to the left in order to compensate. Oop, a little too fast. In order to compensate for that rotation. You see, if I let go, it starts rotating again. So I just push to the left just a little bit, and I compensate. So now I'm going to fly through the docking portal here. And then, again, you'll see there's, you can already see my landing pad right there, so it's number 42, but there's other landing pads that are lit up too. So, you know, one thing is to keep in mind, you know, you want to make sure you're landing at the right numbered pad. Oh, no, somebody ran into me. And then, the last thing you want to know is once you get into the station past the docking guide, the blue dot on your reticle there, just to the top left of the radar, will actually show you where your docking port is. So, you know, obviously if I was turned around here, like, and I didn't know where 42 was, that will tell me where to go. And so obviously I can point there and head straight to it. From this point, it's just your docking is now identical to the outpost. So you're gonna fly in. You want to deploy your landing gear, and then you're gonna approach the station with the numbers farther away, as well as the flight tower to the front. And then you're gonna come in. When you get close enough, your landing guide will show up. You're gonna flatten your ship out, and then put that little dot in the center, and throttle her down.
Docking successful.
There we go.
Engines
And then you'll dock,
disengaged.
maglocks take effect, and congratulations, you've just docked at your first Coriolis station. It's pretty simple to do, it's not very difficult. Again, you know, this game throws a lot of information at you, but once you get the hang of things and doing it over and repeatedly, you know, a lot of this stuff becomes second nature. It's really, really easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Starport Services, and I want to go ahead and refuel my ship. And that refuel is going to cost me 75 cents, or 75 credits. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I've already spent a pretty big chunk of the 1,000 credits I was given, but it's okay. I'm going to show you the quickest way to make really easy money early on. So the quickest way to make really easy money early on is, I'm going to come out here, and so you'll notice there's some resource extraction sites right next to Wohler Terminal. I'm going to target this low intensity resource extraction site. Right, low intensity means that the ships that spawn there are going to be much smaller ships, and the explanation behind this is high intensity have really good resources there, so there's a lot of mining vessels there that are trying to mine stuff, and pirates are much more intense there, and so like in a high, like these down here, in a high intensity resource extraction site, the materials that they're collecting are much higher, so the pirates are after it more, so they're in bigger and better ships. And so once you get into a ship like a Cobra or a Vulture or something on those lines, you want to go high intensity. Those are going to be much better money for you. You'll make a ton of money that way. I mean, there's going to be ships in high intensity resource extraction sites every once in a while that'll net you 200,000-300,000 credits in a single instance. In a low intensity, you're not going to get that as much, but when you're in the starter ship, that's fine. You don't need anything that's really high-end or crazy, because all you want to do is get those initial credits to buy yourself a better ship. Like, we want to get either a Viper or a Cobra or something on those lines, and I'll show you how expensive those are in the shipyard here in just a second. But the low intensity right off the bat will be a really easy way for us to go ahead and net some like 20, 50,000 credit ships pretty quickly and easily. And if we just spend, even 30 minutes to an hour out there, we'll easily gain, 500,000, 1 million credits, and be able to then spend that on getting some of the slightly better starter ships. So if I come up to the Starport Services and I go to the shipyard here, hopefully this has some decent ships in it. So it's got an Eagle. That's slightly better combat vehicle versus the Sidewinder. It's faster. It's more maneuverable. Not as much internal compartment space, so it's not going to be able to carry as much cargo. It's not a great all-rounder, but if you're more combat focused, it's not a bad choice. You've got the Hauler. This is complete opposite. Much more cargo, not as good at handling, not as good at combat. So, if you want to do a lot of trading early on, this is a great ship for you. Viper MK3, this is like the first kind of all-round ship that you can go for. It's still more leans towards combat than internal compartments, because it still doesn't have a whole lot of internal compartments. But it's a great starter ship for combat purposes. And a lot of people even prefer it for mid-game, and some people even prefer just the way it handles and everything for end-game maneuverability. Some people like the challenge of using a Viper to take down some of the larger ships. So this is a really good option. You can see the cost of the ship is around 150 credits, a little bit less than that. But the thing to keep in mind is that's just the base configuration of the ship. If you were going to fully deck out a Viper MK3 for straight-out combat and go crazy with it with all the best gear, you'd probably be looking at somewhere around the 3 to 5 million mark. So obviously you can see that like upgrades to ships can add quite a bit of extra cost to it. But a decent combat configuration, 500 grand would be fine. You shouldn't need much more than that. Hopefully, yes, they do. So hopefully, I was hoping they would have the Cobra here. So the Cobra Mark III, that's another great ship to look at. The nice thing about the Cobra is this is the first really good all-rounder ship. It's got a lot of nice internal compartments. It's got some decent combat capacity for guns and everything, and has decent jump range and so forth. So you can use this kind of all around. And so the nice thing with the Cobra is once you get that, you can kind of trade out the configuration you have in it for various different purposes. So this is really the first ship that you really want to kind of aim towards if you want to experience everything the game has to offer. It's not absolutely necessary to do that, but this is a really good option. Then it's got the Viper Mark IV. It's more expensive than the normal Viper. It's a little heavier. It's not quite as maneuverable. It's got slightly better gun placements, I think, on it. Or they might be exactly the same. I can't remember. It's got a few more internal compartments, so you're able to do a little bit more with it. But overall, a lot of people have liked the Viper MK4. As far as combat goes, Viper MK3 is probably slightly better. But that's also not a bad choice. Type 6. So as you can see, this ship just shot up in price quite a bit. So now we're at the 1 million mark. But the Type 6 is the first really good trading vessel that you can pick up. And so if you want to get into trading and doing more of that, this is the ship that you want to go for. And then we have the Keelback, which is a slightly more combat-oriented version of the Type 6. It's a little more all-rounder, but it's kind of interesting. I've not really played with it, so I can't really say how good or bad it is, but yeah, it's an interesting option. And then, of course, you have your normal Sidewinder, which it shows it's 32,000. That's 32,000 if you just want to buy one outright. If you die in your Sidewinder, you're always able to get a free one. And if you died in another ship and didn't have anything else left, then you can always get a free Sidewinder as well. So you're never left in the game without anything to be able to do. But yeah, so the Sidewinder is just kind of the starter ship. So anyways, so we want to start shooting for the Cobra Mark III. That's really the ship that we want to get. That or the Viper. I'm probably going to shoot for the Cobra Mark III. I think we can do it in the Sidewinder in its base configuration. We might do a couple of upgrades on the Sidewinder really quickly, but beyond that, no, there's not really much point. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this, and I'm going to come over to the system. Okay, I've targeted the low-intensity resource extraction site. That's what that little orange triangle means. And so I'm going to go ahead and launch. So when you're launching from a station, it's kind of the same idea as you were coming in. You're going to go through the docking portal. As you leave the docking portal, your ship will no longer be compensated on the rotation. That's what I was meant to do. Because you'll notice right now, I don't have my hand on the stick, and the station's not rotating around me. But if I fly out here, and as soon as I get past this little blue kind of force field thing, then you'll notice the station will start rotating again. So right there, it started rotating again. So now I got to compensate a little bit for it. But overall, it's not too difficult. It's pretty fun and easy to do. So I'm going to show you, like I said, the low-intensity resource extraction site. We're going to go over there with this base-level Sidewinder, and hopefully everything goes okay. It's been a long time since I've done fighting as a Sidewinder, but I do remember, when I first started out. It's not bad starting out. It's not terrible. It's pretty easy, and, doing a low-intensity, we should be able to take out a few ships in order to get some upgrades for the Sidewinder itself. Hopefully I can do this fast enough to where we don't break the 2-hour mark, because I'd like to keep this video under that. But we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and charge up my frameshift drive.
4, 3,
and the other really cool thing about the resource extraction sites is, and it's one of my favorite parts of the game, they're right in the rings around a gas giant. You'll kind of see that now. Like, you can see the ring is kind of coming into effect. It was a little difficult to see before because it was right on the horizon. So those rings are actually not that thick, and so if you're bang on side of them, they're really difficult to see. But right now we're doing pretty good. So I'm gonna come out this way a bit. The reason is because I can tell where the target was, that it's on the opposite side of the gas giant there. And so if I went too close to the gas giant, it would slow down my trip a little bit. So you kind of want to curve around high gravity things in order to kind of avoid the slowdown that they cause. So again, looking at the time clock there, I want to try to keep that around the 7 or 8 mark now. Since I'm so close to a really high gravity, it's a little difficult to get it to slow down that or go that fast. But there we go. All right. Now, the key with resource extraction sites is you actually don't want to hit the jump out or cancel your frameshift drive until you're about 400 kilometers out, because otherwise you end up popping in really high above the rings, and it can make getting to them a little more difficult. So you'll see here, it'll tell me that safe disengage is ready right now, but I'm not actually going to hit the cancel on my jump drive until about 400 kilometers. You really don't want to do it too much lower than that, because if you do it too much lower, then you may end up getting too close and it'll force you out of Super Cruise, which could damage your ship a bit. But now we're in the low-intensity resource extraction site. With the way instancing works on this game, what will happen is you'll see ships kind of pop in as you get into the system, as things kind of load in. And like you can already see, there's a couple of ships right there. That's an Eagle. Okay, that's a security vessel, and that's a security vessel. All right, so in all of the resource extraction sites, except for hazardous level, and I hadn't mentioned that before, hazardous level ones are compromised, essentially, and so there's no security vessels there. But in all the others, in low, medium, and high-intensity resource extraction sites, you have security vessels there. And the nice thing about the security vessels being there is, if you run into a situation where you have where you're just being overwhelmed by the pirates that you're targeting, you can fly over to the security vessels, and they will help you out. All right, so I saw some gunfire over here, so I imagine one of these guys here is there we go. All right. So, that's interesting. All right, that's the one. Okay. So you'll notice that he is, if you look in the bottom left there, wanted. It shows the name of the NPC. It shows they're a competent level and they're wanted. I want to go in and shoot at this vessel in order to get... Once I shoot him, he'll become a hostile target to me. But the nice thing is like I already noticed there's a security vessel over here. So the security vessel's already shooting at him, which is good, because that means that he'll help me bring down his shields a little faster, and it'll also help me to kill him a little more easily. Because a Cobra, killing it in a Sidewinder is going to be a little difficult. Not impossible, but it's a little difficult. But as you can see, we're also in an asteroid field because of the ring system. So you want to be careful and not hit any of the asteroids while you're flying around. The other thing you want to keep in mind is those security vessels are flying around. And you don't want to accidentally shoot one of them, because if you shoot one of them, then you will get a bounty, and then they'll target you. So if you see a ship like that just fly across, or if they're too close to the ship, just stop firing. Alright, so he blew up, and so you see, I just got a 20,000 credit bounty, alright? So I just got 20,000 credits, just like that. I took out a ship, got 20,000 credits. So if I do that again, you know, with 10, 15, 20 more ships, then I'll get a decent amount of income, and we'll be able to already look at buying a Cobra Mark III or a Viper. And the base level ships are already going to be better than the Sidewinder is. And then if you can get a little bit more money, you can actually outfit them a little better for combat purposes. So what I'm going to do now is, I notice there's a large concentration of ships over here. So, alright, so that's... if you scan a ship like this and they're mining, they're going to be clean. You'll notice it shows clean instead of wanted here. So I don't want to target those guys. I don't want to shoot them because they'll cause me... because they may be... because that'll give me a bounty, essentially. It essentially puts me as a pirate. And I don't want that. I see a bunch. There. See, there's combat going on there. I can already tell. Alright, let's get over here. That's a federal security vehicle. Python. Oh, this is gonna be worth some money. Oh, and he's in a wing. Okay. Alright, so that's one thing you want to keep in mind. It shows in wing 3 of 3, so that means there's actually 3 ships over here that are in a wing. I'm actually kind of surprised I'm seeing a Python in a... Okay. Alright. Interesting. Alright, I'm gonna shoot at this aft scout first. Because he has no shields. So we can take him down first, and then we can work on the Python. So I'm gonna come in, get within firing range, which is 2 kilometers. That was a little dangerous, firing with that ship that was so close. I probably shouldn't have done that, just so you know. That was a bad idea. The shields are going to come back on.
Target shields online. Target shields.
Now, laser weapons are much better at shields, and like multi-cannons and actual ammo-based weapons are better at hull. But starting out, just some pulse lasers are fine. You don't need anything bigger than that.
Target destroyed. Target shields
Is
offline.
that Python? There we go. That's the one I want. Oh, shit, he's way heck away. Oh, how much? So I got another 20,000 credit bounty. Nice. Now you'll notice here that I have 4 pips and weapons in order to keep firing my weapons, and then 2 pips and engines in order to allow me to move faster and
Target shields offline.
maneuver faster. But if I suddenly took a lot of damage, like if the Python decided to target me, then I might move my pips over to systems more in order to help keep my shields up. This Python's dead. You see how it's coming close to some of these other ships, so I'm not going to shoot at him unless... Now, another thing you may have noticed that I'm doing is I'm trying to stay behind the Python. If I can keep him, keep his thrusters pointed at me, then he won't be able to shoot me at all, because all of his weapons are forward-facing.
Target shields online.
Just got this dude.
Target shields offline.
There we go. And boom. Look at that.
Target
70,000
destroyed.
credits. That was awesome. Alright, there's another Aspect Explorer. What is that? Probably a miner, but I just want to check real quick. Nope, he's wanted. So we're going to target him.
Shields offline.
Same thing, I want to try to keep his thrusters pointed at me. See, he was just... Oh, he actually just had a firing opportunity out there. He didn't take it. Not sure why. Oh, here he goes again. So I just want to keep the front of his ship pointed away from me. Okay, good. He's being focused on the Federal support vessels.
Target shields online. Target shields offline.
So as you can see, my weapons really aren't doing a whole lot of damage to this because this is one of the bigger ships of the game. Same with that Python. But because the security vessels are concentrated on him, we're able to take him down fairly well. Apparently the AI, though, right now is having some difficulties flying. It happens every once in a while. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. Whoa, he's shooting at me. Now, thankfully he was firing ammo-based weapons at me, which are not very good at shields. So my shields are holding up pretty well. Alright, he just Alright, 50,000 credits. So you can see right now, I've already made 160,000 credits. Like, I have enough to buy a Viper outright if I really wanted to. Now, I'm probably not going to do that because, like I said, I would prefer to go towards a Cobra. But as you can see, like, it's not difficult jumping in. I mean, I've been playing this game now for just under 2 hours, and I already have enough for a Viper. Now, that being said, for some of the higher-end ships in the game, yeah, it's going to take you a while to get there. But the nice thing about this game is, with ships like the Cobra and you know, kind of the next stepping stone from there, like a Type 6 or going up to like an ASP Scout or an ASP Explorer. It's really easy to have these kind of all-rounder ships that are really good at doing everything, or you can buy some of the more combat-focused ships or trading-focused ships, or so forth, and all of that works really well.
Target destroyed.
Oh, there's another Python. Wow, I got into a really nice low res here. I'm really surprised by this. Oh no, that's a Cobra. So the nice thing about the bounties are, as soon as you've hit the ship like that, like all of them are doing way more damage than me, but because I shot the ship, I'm gonna get credit for some of that bounty. And so there, I just got 27
Target
grand.
destroyed.
Adder's probably a minor. It's an Eagle. Cobra Mark III, what is that? That one's clean. And the Adder's probably clean, but I'll go ahead and scan it really quick. Yep, he's clean. Okay. So when you get into these low-intensity resource extraction sites, you can kind of look around. The easiest way to tell there's combat going on is looking for those laser blasts like you saw when I was shooting, or when those other ships were being shot at, or when the security forces were shooting out. When you see that, you know combat's going on. Did I just see something? Thought I did. Okay, now that one, let's see if he does it again. There was one that showed up right there. That was a mining. You can tell because it was a really small beam. So those are not as likely to be, you know, combat focused or so forth.
Scan detected.
Yeah, just keep in mind the NPCs are kind of stupid when it comes to scanning right now. There's the developers have confirmed that it's kind of a bug and they're working on it. So right now what you want to do is if somebody is starting to scan you, like, have some throttle, be moving, not at them, you know, not necessarily in a completely straight line, but you want to make sure that that they're you know, not causing you issues. Okay, so I just found another wanted Python, which I'm really surprised by. I'm really getting lucky today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until, let's see, there's something else up here with him. Okay, see the Python, he has a wing. Who's in the wing? Ah, I bet that is. Yeah, okay. Alright. Where's the Python? There he is. Now, on this Python, I waited until other ships were shooting at him first. Actually, I need to hurry up and get some shots off. Okay. Behind the asteroid. Alright, I'm not shooting right now because that police officer was right in front of me. That would have been stupid. But there you go.
Target destroyed.
32K for that. So as you can see, it's really easy to make some money as a bounty hunter pretty quickly. I mean, you know, keep in mind, you know, some of the really high-end ships, you're talking, you know, hundreds of millions of credits. For some of them to be fully kitted out, it's over $1 billion. So, you know, obviously, you know, if you did bounty hunting like this, it would take you a long time to get there. And so there are some better ways to make lots of credits in the mid-game. But this is the best way to make credits early on.
Target destroyed.
So you can see I'm already at 230,000 credits. I mean, I've already made a huge amount of money. So I'm gonna go ahead and head out of the system here because I want to make sure we get this turned in, because if I die with all these bounties, I lose them all, and I don't want to do that. So, Wohler Terminal's that way, so I'm going to boost away over here, max out my engines, and put some pips into my systems as well. Put a few more in my systems to get the buffer for my systems back up again. So what I'm doing right now is I'm flying perpendicular to the asteroid, to the plane of the ring, so I can get out of the mass of those devices. I'm going to retract my weapons. You just saw that those retracted. And as soon as the mass lock goes away, then I can go ahead and jump into Super Cruise so that I can start heading to Wohler Terminal. Alright, so mass lock just disappeared. I'm probably going to wait just a little bit before I go ahead and initiate jump, because it's usually good to build at least some distance between you and the ring system. As you can see, so the ring system's behind me over there. We got the gas giant to my left. So now if I go ahead and activate my jump drive to go into Super Cruise.
4, 3, 2,
I'll be
1.
able to
Engage.
And you'll see now I'm flying away from the ring really quickly, and the gas giant's actually moving in my screen rather than kind of being stationary. And so I'm going to kind of keep my ship kind of pointed like a 45-degree angle away from the planet and the rings, because I want to build a little bit of distance from them, because the quicker I get away from the mass of that planet, the faster I'll be able to go. So you can see my throttle's at full speed right now, but I'm not even in C right now. I'm in millions of meters per second. All right, so now I'm finally in C. So 0.1 C. And so forth. And so now that I can actually build up some speed, I'm going to start heading towards Wohler Terminal. But just like I said before, when you get here, you want to throttle down when you start hitting 8 seconds, 7 seconds, because you don't want to go below 7 seconds. If you go below 7 seconds, then you're the potential to blow past them, because you won't be able to slow down fast enough. So yeah, so I'm gonna be able to head to Wohler Terminal. I'll talk with the contacts there in order to turn in all those bounties, and I'll make, like I said, 230,000 credits, and I could actually already buy my Viper if I wanted to, which I think is awesome. That's great progress. So, as you can see, the game, like I said, it's, there is a lot to learn. You'll have to get used to the flying models. Obviously, if you're brand new to the game, you're probably not going to make this kind of progress this quickly, because there's a lot of stuff you got to get used to. But, don't think that, like, in this game it's impossible to make really good progress in a short period of time. You could easily, if you caught on fairly quickly, get to the point of being able to do all of this stuff, within an evening or an afternoon, once you picked up the game. It's really not that difficult. There are definitely more advanced topics, which I want to get into and go over, and I'd love to do some guides on how to do some of the more advanced, types of jobs that you can do in the game in order to make money. And so I will definitely be continuing this as kind of a Let's Play series. However, most of the rest of the episodes of this will likely not be live streamed. I'll probably record them and put them on our YouTube channel. So keep an eye on the forums, keep an eye on our YouTube channel. I'll also announce them in the various live streams that I do on Twitch, so that you know when those are available.
Docking successful. Engines disengaged.
Yeah, so that's Elite Dangerous. As you can see, it's really not that difficult to get started in the game. Cremain is a great location to go to start out. if you just want to make some quick money in order to jump from the Sidewinder into one of the higher level ships. Like I said, a Viper is a great choice if you want to be more combat oriented. If you want to be able to do more of an all-rounder, the Cobra is really where you want to go to start with. If you want to go trading right off the bat, then a hauler is a good option. You might be able to go up to an adder. It would be a big jump, but potentially up to a Type 6. You'd have to do quite a bit of farming of bounties and stuff like that initially in order to do that. You can also do the missions. The missions are not a bad way to make a decent amount of money. They're not quite as fast as bounty hunting right off the bat, but it's not a bad option. Trading is also going to be a little slow at first because you're not going to have very high capacity cargo spaces. So my personal recommendation when you're first starting out until you get to at least a Cobra, you want to concentrate on doing bounty hunting. That really is the best and quickest way to make money early on, and helps to get you out of the basic starter ship and into something a little more fun, and so that you can jump into more activities within the game. But anyways, so this is ZeroGuardian. I hope you enjoyed it. I know there was a lot of information that I gave here today, but I really think it's this game is absolutely worth your time, and it's worth the effort to put in to learn all the mechanics and everything, because it is a blast to play. Definitely join us next week. Like I said, Monday at 8 p.m. I'll be playing The Marvelous Mistake. Wednesday I'll be doing another Distant World stream, and Friday I will be playing Tomb Raider, the new remake that came out about a year and a half ago. So, as always, if you have any questions, hit me up in chat. One of my live streams are heading, or join us at the forums. Address for the forums is right there at the top, forums.spacepotatoes.com. And I hope you enjoyed it. This is ZeroGuardian signing off. I'll see you next time.